Welcome to Black Nouveau. This is our edition for November 27th, 2013. I'm Joanne Williams. We have a variety of fitness and health this week. December 1st is World AIDS Day. We'll examine the impact of HIV on Milwaukee's African-American communities. On a lighter note, we'll explore the benefits of line dancing. November is also Diabetes Awareness Month. Diabetes can be a killer in African-American communities and the leading cause of blindness, kidney failure, and amputation. But the disease can be managed.
My family history with diabetes started with my mother. She was diagnosed back in 1980. I was aware of it more in the 90s, and just learning the hardship of what she's gone through, I wanted to prevent it for myself and family. Being my mom's caregiver was an eye-opener. Just coming in and taking care of her, talking with her, taking her back and forth to the doctor's appointments, making sure she took her medication on time, eating right. That was a personal wake-up call for me to want to take better care of myself. I realized that I needed to lose weight after going to my physician, speaking with my doctor and him letting me know that my weight was high, and I was also experiencing high blood pressure. In the beginning, me trying to take the approach of losing weight, it was not easy. I did fall. I did struggle. My first step was just to get up, get out, and walk. Those were one of my first things. I knew that I would eventually have to take the approach on food, but my first thing was getting active and just getting motivated to get out. Physically and mentally, I did notice a change. I noticed a change just for the simple fact of getting out and moving. I started to drop weight. As far as physical activity, the things that I do now that I did not used to do, I went and bought an exercise ball. I get out to bike ride more. When I'm coming home, if we have a little bit extra time, I try to get out and play football with my husband and my children. And when I'm in the area, maybe taking a walk with my mom. My eating habits and portion control has been a great impact in maintaining my weight loss. We try to eat out of smaller plates. Then also just staying motivated with moving, having fun, and exercising. Some of the things that I do to reward myself, I don't keep myself from everything. One of my favorite things to do to reward myself is I still keep in portion control, but when we go out to eat, I like to have sushi. I stay focused to stay on track and meet my goals being a busy mom, just by the simple fact of educating my girls and my husband. The more educated they became, it made it a whole lot easier for me to maintain the good health. I feel wonderful now. Before in the past, my mood was down. I had a lot of weight that I was carrying, and that was just extremely a horrible feeling. But now I feel more motivated. I feel good about myself to even not just stay at this weight, but to continuously lose weight. My advice to a person that's trying to prevent diabetes would be to first get with your doctor, find out what your numbers are, where your numbers should be. Reach out and get support from those maybe in your church, your family. Just get highly educated about diabetes. And if you fall, don't stay down, get back up again. To find more tools on preventing type 2 diabetes and managing your weight, visit yourdiabetesinfo.org. I'm Letitia Turner. I'm preventing diabetes by losing weight and keeping it off. It's not easy, but it's worth it.
Closer to home, 540 ESPN Milwaukee sports radio personality Steve Haywood recently became a double amputee as a result of that disease. He said, quote, "I want to tell all those out there with diabetes, please check your blood sugars. Keep them under control as best you can, and make the best choices you can when it comes to your health, so you don't have to go through this kind of traumatic event like I have. I miss my legs, but I will walk again." Steve has agreed to allow us to follow his journey, and we'll have his story for you in the future. Right now, though, we're joined by Dr. Alicia Walker, who's a pharmacist and very well versed in diabetes. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for coming. Diabetes is something that so many people have that sometimes we think it's just common. Is it really common?
No, it's not that common, but it is getting higher and higher as time goes on. They estimate, the American Diabetes Association estimates by 2050, 1 in 3 Americans will be suffering from diabetes.
1 in 3?
Yes, that is quite alarming. And
Why?
that's why it's so important now that we, tell our children to watch what they're eating because of the obesity in our children, and that we're watching what we're eating as well so that we're modeling good behavior.
Is diabetes preventable?
There are some things that are not preventable. Your age is not, your sex is not, the sex isn't so much an issue as much as your race. Those are things that cannot be changed. However, there are things such as your eating habits that can be changed, whether you smoke or not, that can be changed. These are things that can affect how the diabetes affects your body.
Now, the women we just saw, mother and daughter, that means it's in their family. Is it a hereditary condition?
Yes, there is a hereditary component to it. My mom actually passed on in 2010 from diabetes, so it's near and dear to my heart. My brother suffers from it, and my sisters and I do not. But there is a hereditary component to it. My mom had an amputation based upon the diabetes, so she lived with the disease for over 20 years. And so we don't want people to think that it's something to be afraid of. It's something to deal with so that you make it a part of your lifestyle changes and what you do once you're diagnosed.
Is it something that occurs only when you become an adult?
No, absolutely not. There are some people that are diagnosed as children, and that's what they consider type 1 diabetes, and there's really nothing those children can do. It's just that their pancreas is not putting out enough insulin for them. But as you get older, your eating habits affect more of the onset of diabetes, so that's when you're looking at type 2 diabetes.
Talk a little bit about eating habits. What should we be eating to keep ourselves safe from this condition?
Well, the biggest thing is I was so happy when the First Lady came out and talked about half of our plates being filled with fruits and vegetables. As a mom, it really made me happy because, hey, I said, that's cooking I have to do. I don't have to worry about trying to get all these sides together. But, when you have fruits and vegetables as half your meal, that's half your battle right there. That's the biggest thing you can do because it's not a high calorie count type of thing that you're looking at doing. You really want to watch what you're eating in terms of high calorie things and making sure that you're eating things that you can burn off.
Now, a lot of people will say, though, in my neighborhood, I can't find fresh fruits and vegetables as conveniently as in some other neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. What can folks in that situation do? What can they eat?
Well, the biggest thing is trying to seek it out nonetheless, trying to make yourself avail yourself as much as possible of grocery stores and things like that that have those type of foods, and then try and stock up accordingly. If you can not do that, then you have to look at the other side of the equation, which is trying to exercise, which we should all be doing anyway in order to strengthen our heart. But you want to try and work those calories off of the foods that you are eating, and as best you can, really seek out those fruits and vegetables.
And the exercise is critical too, and kids aren't exercising as much as they used to. Mm-hmm. How much exercise should we get to make sure we'll stay safe from diabetes?
It's best to exercise most days of the week, so they usually say 4 days of the week, 30 minutes is best.
And walking will do it?
Absolutely, walking will do it. My kids keep begging me for a dog. And people that live in neighborhoods that they don't feel necessarily safe just taking a walk in, we have to be mindful of that. They may be a good candidate to have a dog because then that can provide you some protection if you don't feel comfortable just walking. You can also, a lot of homes in Milwaukee have stairs to them, so just running up and down the stairs can help burn off calories as well. I would also like to add that as a member of the Cream City Medical Society, we are advocates for African Americans in particular that are dealing with diabetes. So we'd like to, make sure that we are availing ourselves of those doctors that are concerned about healthcare disparities.
So if people want to get more information, how do they get in touch with the Cream City Medical Society?
It's www.creamcitymedicalsociety.com.
Thank you very much, Alicia Walker, who's a pharmacist and knows a lot about diabetes. Thanks for coming and talking with us. Let's hope people take your advice.
Thank you very much.
Be it a wedding reception, or a gathering, Or doing the Dougie with First Lady Michelle Obama. Line dancing is in. It's fun and you don't need a partner. Line dancing is exactly what the name implies, people dancing in a line. The popularity is growing around the country and in Milwaukee. Classes are popping up around the city. At Jean's Lanes and Lounge on Milwaukee's north side, every Saturday afternoon you'll find people having fun and getting that much-needed exercise, line dancing. This class is run by certified fitness instructor Desiree Morton, also known as Butterfly. She considers what she teaches urban line dancing because of the music she uses. You can line dance to practically any music. She said it's not hard, but it's not as easy as it looks, and it is a workout.
Line dance is not hard at all. Anyone that's able to pretty much have mobility is able to do line dance because you can bring it down to low impact as well as high impact. It's all up into the person's mobility abilities to dance.
Just did a little workout. I need to work some pounds off, but mainly it's a lot of fun. Keep my bones loose.
It's a fun way to exercise. I belong to a pretty exclusive club here in Milwaukee, and they don't have anything this fun, so I come here and do this.
Age doesn't seem to matter.
We have all age groups. We have from anywhere from 21 years of age all the way up until some of the ladies here are 75 years of age. So we have a variety of ages and ethnicities.
It's a lot of fun, and I believe that you need to be active and exercise, and this is a good way to meet people and have a lot of fun.
I have a lot of patience, so if someone is not getting it, please say something so one of the assistants can come down and help you a little further, okay?
It's not as, I don't know, I seem a little bit intimidated in the gym, but this is a lot more fun, a lot more relaxing for me.
So step back to your right, right heel up, 5, 6, 7, right heel, right, left,
I do line dance because it's good exercise, it's fun, it's a good way to get together with a bunch of girls and just spend your Saturday afternoon working out and still having fun at the same time.
There are pros and maybe some cons of participating in line dancing.
Pros of it is that you're dancing and it's a form of exercise. You don't even know that you're exercising. And the bad thing about it is that it's addictive, but it's addictive in a good way. You can burn anywhere from 600 calories to 1,100 calories. It depends on how intense you make the dance step in particular. You can burn anywhere, like I said, from 600 to 1,100 calories easy.
And you don't need any special gear to do it.
We ask the participants to wear comfortable clothing. Some people are comfortable with dancing in heels. Some are comfortable in dancing in flats or tennis shoes. So it's up to the person's what they're normally accustomed to dancing in. So it's whatever their comfort level is. This activity is actually low impact, so it doesn't harm your joints if you have any type of arthritis or you suffer from any type of mobility problems. You can, basically anyone can dance to line dance and music. We have children that are excited about doing it as well as older adults that are participating in line dance.
She is happy with the popularity of the class. It started with 10 people and now it's well over 50.
I do the line dance class with Butterfly because it's a great way to work out. She uses it as an aerobic tool, but also when I go out to parties, all kind of dinners, I can get on the dance floor and have fun with the group. So it's an exciting opportunity for us to stay fit and have fun.
People have been losing weight and just really having a good time. They look forward to this class. When we don't have class for a particular reason, it's a sad day. So I just try to make sure I keep classes flowing.
December 1st is World AIDS Day. The numbers are still alarming. In some sections of Milwaukee's black communities, the infection rate is almost 10 times the national average. Acceptance Journeys is a program aimed at reducing those numbers. Everett Marshburn has that story.
Congratulations on your 17. Man.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy.
Lawrence Harris and Emmanuel Kadeem are celebrating Kadeem's 17th anniversary of being sober. Both are in recovery. As a young man, Lawrence had a good-paying job until drugs took over his life.
I was homeless at the age of 29 years old. All I had was a car. It's a long story about how I ended up that way, but I ended up in my car, and I talked to God that night, and I said, Lord, if you let me get up out this car and get me somewhere to stay, give me a key to anywhere to stay, I'll never get high again.
Lawrence will celebrate his 24th year of sobriety in January of 2013. He's married and works in HIV services. Kadeem's descent into substance abuse was a combination of his mother's death when he was 11 and his inability to cope with his sexuality.
And it was the initial emotion that I experienced as a young person, but too afraid and fearful to be able to express myself to what my feelings were, for fear that I would be punished or ridiculed or talked about or what have you.
When Kadeem got serious about recovery, he met Lawrence in a group meeting. They've been good friends ever since.
We accept people where they are. And I was here before Kadeem. I'm a predecessor of Kadeem. He came around, I was chairing meetings and doing what I do, and he came around, and he clung around us, and we just been around each other ever since.
It was always a very pleasant spirit, and I gravitated towards that. And it wasn't sexual or, lustful or anything like that, because he made the possibility that men could actually be considerable, kind, and understanding.
The story of their friendship is part of Acceptance Journeys, a campaign by Diverse and Resilient to help lessen the HIV rate among African-American males in Milwaukee.
What we've identified, along with other partners in the community, is that, particularly in the black community, that homophobia, and resentment of not being able to come out or to have the support is one of those key concerns. There's still a lot of people out there who cast out members of our community once they talk about the fact that they're either bisexual or gay. So we see a lot of individuals in our community who need someone to give them some form of acceptance. Acceptance Journeys is about sharing key information about how your relationship with someone who's gay, transgendered, or bisexual.
We've interviewed over 100 people in the city and gotten some beautiful, beautiful stories and pictures as well, and people are really moved by these stories as well. We've got billboards around town. They say, our first slogan was, whose life can you change with love? So we had 2 billboards that started with that, and then we moved on to a couple of other messages, like, I love my daughter just as she is. The root of the project is derived from the Center for Disease Control's research. They found in 2009 that the heightened rates of HIV for young gay men was increasing steadily, and it was very, very dire to the city, so they wanted to find out why this was happening. So they did some research, and they wanted to know whether it was because outreach methods had changed or maybe testing methods had changed, but they found that none of that was true. It wasn't because of those reasons, it was because of anti-gay stigma and HIV stigma.
That stigma is something that Lawrence and Kadeem know firsthand.
I was talked about, I was, ostracized, I was, ridiculed, and it was real difficult because I had all these emotions and I didn't know what to do with them.
Doing outreach on the streets, I met a lot of people had alternative lifestyle, and I've seen how they was getting judged. Or when I used to meet people and I had to take them to get some housing or food pantry or wherever their needs may be, and I can see how people would treat them at a church, see them at an AODA facility that you're taking them to, and they see they got alternative land, they got reluctance to talk to the person, or even reluctance to even give them access to whatever they may have to offer.
As a minority, especially for young African-American gay men, they are almost doubly stigmatized. Like when you're a minority, you have all of these stresses on you. So that stress, along with being maybe HIV positive or even just gay and that point, can heighten all of these stresses upon you. So you have all this stuff on your shoulders. So when someone isn't accepting of you and loving of you, the impact of the community and the people that are supposed to support and love you is very, very important. And that's just what we're trying to do with the project, is to show people that love is the most important thing, and we should love one another for who we are unconditionally.
It's clear that this impacts our whole community, particularly African-American community. And African-American women are being impacted by those men who are on the down low, who don't identify with being gay or bisexual. It's important that our whole community addresses this issue of HIV infection, because this is something that is here, it's something we must deal with, and it is a growing concern.
We're joined now by Chris Allen, Program Coordinator for Diverse and Resilient. Tell me a little bit about that organization.
Sure. Diverse and Resilient is a nonprofit public health organization for LGBT people in the city of Milwaukee and the state of Wisconsin. So we have programming that seeks to address different health disparities within the LGBT community. For example, the programs that I work on are HIV prevention programming for young African-American gay and bisexual men, where in Milwaukee, the rates are extremely high among that community.
Why is that? Why is Milwaukee ahead of some other communities?
Well, some of the things that are contributing to the higher rates of HIV within Milwaukee are housing instability among young gay and bisexual black men, the lack of sex education. There's a lot of misconceptions within the community around what can lead to HIV and how it can be prevented, how it can be treated. And there's HIV stigma. There's lack of support around being young and gay, and there's a lot of stigma around HIV. And so the stigma leads to a fear of disclosure.
Now, years ago when HIV was first discovered, I put that in air quotes, there was a lot of stigma associated with it. But hasn't that been reduced over the years? I mean, HIV and AIDS seems sort of common nowadays. It's just another disease.
Yeah, I don't know if I would necessarily say that it's been reduced. I think the stigma has changed. I think that when HIV was new, a lot of people were afraid of it because they didn't know what it was. They knew people were dying from it. There wasn't a lot of ways that people could get treatment for it. And now with advances in medication, people can live long, healthy lives with HIV as long as they're in current treatment, which is the key. And so while there's not as much stigma around it as far as, fear of death, where there is still stigma around that, but just there's not a lot of information around it. In the 80s and early 90s, a lot of people knew about it. It was on the news a lot. There were different public not public, but organizations that were trying to bring awareness about it. And so some of that has died down now, and there's less education, less information. And so while there's not as much in the news about people dying from it, there's still fear that, I don't know what this is. I don't know how I can catch it. If someone has HIV, I don't know if they're going to give it to me. And so just that lack of information.
Is it mostly younger people who don't have this information, or is it still spreading among people who are in their 40s, 50s, and among women? That was a big rise not long ago.
Yeah, I think there's lack of information among a lot of groups, but I do think that it is primarily among a lot of younger people. The younger people that I work with and have the privilege of seeing in my programs, they weren't around when HIV was first diagnosed in late 80s, early 90s, and so they didn't have the opportunity to see a lot of what some of the older generation has seen, and so what they hear about it isn't the same messaging, and so they do have somewhat less information as someone who might have been around when it was new.
Now, when you try and educate younger people about it, do you try and scare them, saying that this is something you should fear, or do you try and teach them that this is something that you have to learn to avoid, and if you are infected, you have to get treated?
I'm glad you asked that question, because the scare tactics is what can actually add to the stigma of HIV. And the best way to help prevent it and educate people isn't to scare them and say, oh, you need to be afraid of this, but to give them the skills and the knowledge that they need so that they can avoid getting it. And that if they do get HIV, giving them the information that they need so that they can prevent passing it on to someone else.
Everybody uses the internet for information and education nowadays. How can people find out more about it, and particularly your program?
Yeah, you can find more about my programming by visiting our website, diverseandresilient.org. Otherwise, the CDC has a lot of really good information on their website, cdc.gov, and aids.gov. You can find out a lot of information there.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming and talking to us today. And this is one of those subjects that the more information you have, the safer you can stay.
Yes.
Thanks very much for speaking with us.
Thank you.
And that's our program for this week. For Black Nouveau, I'm Joanne Williams. Happy Thanksgiving.